The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Aspire Counseling Services. Call 829-7300. In the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. A mother at home with her children when a man breaks in with a hammer. We're learning more about the incident from earlier this week and the claims another woman has made against that suspect.
As the measles outbreak continues, the debate over exemptions for vaccinations heats up. We'll tell you where the bill to enforce stricter requirements stands.
Bakers have been busy. It's sort of the Super Bowl for sweets. National Donut Day. We'll have your list of delicious deals on this Friday, June 7th, 2019. New this morning, it's caught fire before and firefighters battled flames in an abandoned central Bakersfield home once again. Bakersfield firefighters say the flames broke out at the home on 1st Street around 8 o'clock last night. Crews say they had a tough time knocking down the flames because of damage from previous fires and part of the home being boarded up. But they were able to put the fire out in about 10 minutes. No one was hurt, and fire crews did not find anyone inside the home.
We're learning more about an alleged break-in that ended with a shooting in East Bakersfield. It all happened Wednesday morning near Oswell Street and College Avenue. KCSO says Andrew Oldham broke into a home armed with a hammer. A mother and her kids were inside. The woman shot Oldham, and after he refused to stay away. Court documents show another woman on the same street accused him of harassment. She filed a restraining order back in April. The woman says Oldham is her husband's cousin and sent messages to her on Facebook saying he loved her and also threatened her. A judge dismissed the case in May when neither Oldham or the woman showed up in court. He's set to appear in court again this afternoon on charges related to this week's incident.
5:03 now. The measles outbreak is still showing no signs of slowing down. 4 new cases were reported in California this week, bringing the total number of reported cases here to 51. All but 11 of the cases are infected adults. That's adding fuel to a heated debate in Sacramento over who should have the power to exempt kids from getting vaccines. A proposed bill would allow the Department of Public Health to give exemptions instead of doctors. This is what some on both sides of the debate had to say.
This legislation is sort of like putting a Band-Aid on the knee for a problem, for a scratch on the elbow. These outbreaks are happening amongst adults primarily, so to go after the children doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Government should protect those who are the weakest among us. Our laws should bend over backwards to make the world as safe as possible for those kids, and we shouldn't cater to people who are giving into fear.
Earlier this week, Governor Gavin Newsom weighed in on the conversation.
Well, I'm a strong advocate, have been for decades, very vocal advocate for vaccinations. That's not the question. The question is around abuse of exemptions, and the question is how best to address that issue. That is a real issue. It must be addressed. My question is how to address it, and to the extent we're creating a new bureaucracy, that creates some red flags for folks.
The Assembly has to decide on the measure before it can end up on Newsom's desk.
There's another big debate happening in the healthcare industry here in California, this one over pay. Therapists at Kaiser Permanente Hospital statewide are threatening to strike next week. Right now, Kaiser and its workers union are bargaining for a new agreement. Mental health therapists are concerned about their workloads and the impact it is having on the quality of care patients receive. A union representative says 4,000 therapists will hit the picket lines Tuesday if a deal is not reached. In a statement, Kaiser called the strike, quote, disheartening, and claims it has already made generous offers to the union. Local therapists plan to picket if the strike continues for a second week.
Months after the deadly campfire destroyed the city of Paradise, high school seniors who escaped the inferno have something to celebrate. The class of 2019 filled the Paradise High School football field last night and turned their tassels toward a new chapter. Graduating was something some seniors thought they'd never get to see.
It means absolutely everything to me because when it happened, like the fire, I was like so nervous that wasn't going to happen. I was even nervous that Paradise wasn't going to exist.
The campfire destroyed nearly 14,000 homes when it tore through Paradise last fall. All of the school's 980 students, about 900 lost their homes. The school was not damaged, but classes were forced to be held in Chico. On graduation night, though, the seniors returned to their school with friends who've become family.
To know that Paradise still exists and we're still a family and we're still strong and we're graduating on our home field, it just means the world to me, and it's undescribable.
Paradise High's principal says of the 220 grads, 80% are headed to college. That's about the same as years past, but he says it's really an amazing statistic this year, considering most college applications were due just 3 weeks after the fire.
They've spent years behind bars, but they're celebrating an important milestone. Yesterday, 17 inmates at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi earned their associate's degrees from Cerro Coso College. The partnership with CCI and the college started 2 years ago, but this is the first graduating class. More than 700 inmates are currently enrolled in the program. One man is serving his 4th term behind bars, having spent most of his life in prison.
I actually knew that I was worth college. I never actually even believed that this could be done.
Hartman says his release date is set for December. He plans to go back home to San Diego and apply to San Diego State University to continue his studies.
All right, we're at 64 degrees, a much cooler morning for you, that's for sure. Yesterday we were in the, what were you saying, Alex? You like what donut? Yesterday morning at this time, we were at right around 75, warming to 77, so you can see the big cool down. A north wind at 7 right now, overnight for 64, getting closer to that normal of 62. Normal high today is 89, and 109 is the record, and that was set back in 1977. To the north, we've got 62 in Delano, 63 in Buttonwillow right now, Taft here at 65. And then for the mountains, we've got 40s, 50s, and even a few lower 60s out there. Out in the desert, Mojave at 66. A few high clouds into northern California right now, but that is all. Not expecting any real major changes except for the temperatures. 81 in Sacramento today, 84 in Fresno. Nice weather to the south. LA will be right near 72. 69 in San Diego and still quite warm to the east of us. They're not seeing the influence of this system. They're looking at 98 out of Vegas. And that's what's bringing us the cooler air is this trough. You can see we've got showers up into the Pacific Northwest. For us, all we're getting is the cooler air from this today into tomorrow, and then another warm-up will be in store. We will also be looking at a little bit of cloud cover here. As you can see on our Futurecast model, right around Monday morning, we'll see some high clouds push through the area. Again, it will remain dry. We're not looking at any rain with this. And the model goes through Wednesday with an influx of some high clouds, but that will be it. I want to talk about the snowpack. This is incredible. I have not seen this in my 14 years of being here in California. The snowpack is so impressive right now. The Northern Sierra at 181% of normal. Last year at this time, we were at 12%. What's most impressive is the Central and Southern Sierra. Last year, no snow. Right now, we sit at 205% of normal in the Central and 188% of normal in the Southern Sierra. So the snowpack is impressive. And with the warmer weather, we've started to see a melt-off. I want to talk about Lake Isabella. We've got a good amount of water in there, 310,000 acre-feet of water right now. The one thing to note here is our inflow and outflow right around 5,000 cubic feet per second. We tell you all the time, if you're going to be entering the Kern River, go with a guide, and this is most important. I have a buddy that owned a guide service up there for many years, and he says once we get to the 5,000 cubic feet per second range, it gets very dangerous. It's dangerous all the time, but that's why it's so even more important to go with those experienced guides in the Kern River. If you're not with a guide, stay out of the water. Here's a look at our air quality for today. We'll be good with this cooler air pushing on in. Your AQI today at 48, and we'll call for sunny and 86 in Bakersfield, 85 in McFarland, 84 in Taft, and Buttonwillow at 85. For the mountains in the Kern River Valley, we're looking at 68 in Fraser Park, 73 in Tehachapi, 80s today for the Kern River Valley. Lake Isabella at 80, 82 in Kernville, and a west wind 10 to 15. For the desert, sunny skies, cooler for you today as well. Winds gusting to around 35, 83 in Mojave with 88 out of California City. Here's the extended forecast. We will see that warm up. 90 by Saturday, and then triple digits on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're right near 103. Monday might be a little bit on the humid side as well with the cloud cover. And then for the mountains, also warming you up by Sunday back into the 80s, and those 80s will hang around through next Thursday. For the Kern River Valley, mid-80s tomorrow, 90s return Sunday through the end of next week. So the cool down, very short-lived.
Welcome back. The sun is out, warm temperatures. And you know what that means. The mosquitoes are back. Kern Public Health says mosquito activity picks up during warmer months. A bite can leave you sick with illnesses like West Nile virus. Public Health says there was just 13 cases last year. That's less than half the number of cases in 2017. Public Health says to avoid mosquitoes at any time of day and try to expose as little skin as possible. Also, mosquitoes breed in water, so make sure that to keep outdoor containers empty and drain any standing water so the mosquitoes cannot lay eggs. Very important, of course, during this time of year, because sometimes even like our pools, before we get into them, can be a little dirty still for this time of year before, it really starts to warm up. So it's really important to keep everything clean and so that you can limit the exposure as much as possible.
New this morning, we're getting a fresh read on nationwide job growth. The May jobs report was released just about an hour ago. About 75,000 jobs were added last month. That number keeps unemployment in the U.S. at a nearly 50-year low, keeping the rate at just 3.6%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says employment continues to trend up in professional and business services and in healthcare. But again, this was far off what employment experts were expecting to see added in May. They were expecting around 180,000 jobs, but instead, again, 75,000 added last month.
Thousands of Medicare beneficiaries could be getting big bills they thought were already paid. That's because what the Social Security Administration is calling a processing error. The federal agency says 250,000 beneficiaries may have gotten bills for up to 5 months of premiums they thought they'd already paid. But they didn't because the agency didn't deduct premiums from some seniors' Social Security checks and didn't pay the insurance plans. The Social Security Agency won't say how the error happened, but now some people will find they'll have to pay the bills or see their plans canceled.
The U.S. and Mexico are back at it again today, trying to avoid a tax on Mexican goods set to start Monday.
Tracy Potts joins us from Capitol Hill this morning with a look ahead with what could be the final day of negotiations. Good morning, Tracy.
Alex and Maddie, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Right now, there's no indication these negotiations are working, that they'll actually stop the tariffs on Monday. President Trump lands in Washington this afternoon as Mexico makes a last-ditch effort to convince the U.S. their immigration enforcement is enough to avoid a 5% escalating tariff starting Monday. The president told Fox overnight.
I go into the room with the Mexicans. I'm asking them for everything. And by the way, if they don't do it, I'm putting the tariffs on. We're going to make a fortune.
That's not what financial experts say. They're concerned Americans will pay the extra cost. Mexican officials are optimistic.
We explained to them all the enforcement measures that Mexico is taking to address the challenge of migration now.
On the table, sending 6,000 Mexican troops to the border with Guatemala to stop migrant caravans there.
We called on them to take even more steps, more decisive action.
Meantime, President Trump is in a war of words with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi's a disaster, okay? She's a disaster.
Pelosi's under fire from Democrats to impeach the president. She reportedly told lawmakers, quote, "I don't want to see him impeached. I want to see him in prison." 60 House Democrats are pushing for impeachment. From Washington, Tracy Potts, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Aspire Counseling Services. Call 829-7300.